All right, our first article comes from MSN. Kevin Warsh's tenure as Fed governor shaped by inflation concerns central banks' credibility. During his 5 years as a Fed governor, Ken Warsh routinely raised concerns about inflation and protecting central bank credibility by ensuring inflation expectations remained anchored, even as he voted throughout most of his tenure to either hold interest rates steady or lower them. Warsh, President Trump's nominee to be the next chair of the Federal Reserve, served on the Fed chair from 2006 to 2011. A review of his speeches during that time and transcripts of policy meetings paints pictures of an inflation hawk by philosophy, but a data driven practitioner. Quote, in all likelihood, he'll follow the pattern that the FOMC has shown for years, and that is let the data tell you what's the right policy. Unquote, former Atlanta Fed President Dennis Lockhart said in an interview. Quote, he understands that, unquote. An eye for inflation, even amid crisis. As a governor of the Federal Open Market Committee, Warsh joined the committee's consensus on every vote and never dissented. That included 3 rate hikes when he first came on in 2006, holding steady, and finally cutting rates with the onset of the financial crisis. The Fed held rates near zero, well past Warsh's time at the Fed board as ripples in the deep recession persisted. I mean, so yeah, he was there for the crash, 2009. This past year, confronting both a weaker job market and higher inflation, the central bank has grappled with which side of its dual mandate was farther off course. With inflation down but still elevated, a divided Fed opted to cushion much weaker payroll growth by cutting rates 3 times last fall. In March 2010, Warsh addressed this policy stance, arguing that accepting a little more inflation for lower unemployment was the primary basis for high inflation in the 1970s. Quote, by definition, an increase in an implicit inflation target would lead to an upward shift in inflation expectations, unquote, Warsh said, quote, and how would a central bank make credible its promise that a shift would only be a one-time event, unquote. A dovish turn. Most recently, Warsh has advocated for low interest rates, arguing that the Fed should, quote, discard its forecast for stagflation, quote, end quote, and proceeding that the AI will be a significant force that boosts productivity and pushes down inflation, which will allow for lower rates. Da, 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 da. The Fed, under his leadership, will most likely emphasize price stability as the supreme scale back discretionary interventions, and reduce reliance on large scale asset purchases. Uh, yeah, so basically, um, Trump's new Fed chair has been around. Well, he was around for the 2008, 2009, and 2010 crisis. Let's see. Now a lot of this article has to do with rising or lowering interest rates. And it should be noted that high or increasing interest rates are generally used to slow down the economy and lower inflation by making it more expensive to borrow money. Basically, mean that people will buy fewer homes, businesses would put off expanding, and the population tends to save their money instead of trying to get more. On the other side, lowering interest rates speeds up the economy, but it can stroke inflation. And a lot of what the interest rates when it comes to inflation, this influences aggregate demand, which is the total amount of spending in the economy. It also creates the allocative effect where interest rates are creates the quote allocative effect where I think this is what Warsh is talking about when it comes to like interest rates being near zero for a long time. The
Mm-hmm.
allocative effect, that's when interest rates are too low for too long, near the zero bound. It can create artificial booms and asset inflation. Again, if kept for too low for too long, because companies can borrow more money, banks can lend out more money without having to pay
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it back. A lot of people will be more risky with lower inflation. Well, a lot of people will be risky with lower interest rates. So they'll buy
Mhm.
stock and create an artificial boom. Not that people believe these companies will take off, but because they're holding more of a product that they think will go up. Boom. During the
Mhm.
2008 financial crisis, he voiced concerns about inflation while the central bank pursued aggressive low rate policies and quantitative easing post recession. That's a little bit of research. And we're talking about this, about interest rates, because since 2021, the federal funds rate has gone up to about 5.5% from 2020 to 2023, and then from 2023 to now, we went from near zero to 5.5%, and now we're back down to 3.75, with talks of either keeping it there for now or letting it go lower. His recent comments suggest he's open to cuts if there's a boom from AI production. So he's willing to cut interest rates, which goes against what he wants. He doesn't want lower interest rates because he's hawkish about inflation, but he's willing to do it, and if it comes from
Mhm.
an AI boom and higher productivity because of AI, which, if we believe some articles from a week ago, that may or may not be happening. At least a lot of people are
Yeah.
could be putting bets into the AI market. Whether that actually produces a real boom, not sure. But there was an article a while ago, not a while ago, a couple days ago about you brought it to me. It's the how many jobs we just laid off.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
Da-da-da.
Let me see if I can
Let's see.
dredge that up. Do you think they would let me run like a six-leg parlay on each of the big AI companies failing
Yeah, you
on like
could.
Clash
We
or
could do
something?
that. Yeah, like me, like what's it called?
What are you doing?
An
Shorting the
option
whole
stock.
market?
Yeah, shorting.
According to Newswire, January layoffs surged to a 17-year high. U.S. employers announced 108,453 layoffs, or 435 layoffs in January, up to 205%, or up 205% from December, and the highest January total since 2009, which I would like to remind everybody listening that 2009 was the height of the financial crisis.
Yeah,
If you've
for
ever seen the
sure.
movie The Big Short, that.
Yeah. So since 2009, for sure. Now that could be a lot of things. I don't think it's AI productivity.
Well, well, hold on. There's a little bit of hope. Somebody says, according to Newswire, the odds of a recession are only 23% according to Polymarket. That's what people are betting on. So I think we're in the clear.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, for sure. We can bet on 75%. I'll take that bet.
Right?
That's a good deal. But
That's a good deal. I trust these people's insight. Oh, what's that? There's one person who just bet like $50 million on there will be a recession. That's crazy. He
that's only
comes from Israel.
25%.
What?
But so
What does he know?
it's always weird seeing those. Like, why would you bet so much on something that we don't know about?
Did you see the bet on the Super Bowl? The
Oh
guy that
no.
bet like so the Super Bowl pot was so big that you could bet like it was $22 million liquid and you wouldn't budge the odds. And someone dumped like $35 million on the Hawks winning. And
Whew.
they did it like hours before the game. And it was a totally anonymous account and then they just they won and they left. And now a different anonymous account has placed a lot of money on Trump bombing Iran tonight.
Tonight?
So we'll
Okay.
see. We'll see, boys. Now's a good time to get on that insider trading while it's all public on Polymarket. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. I didn't watch Super Bowl, but I guess the Patriots.
Me neither.
I saw an
They
article.
got they got destroyed.
I saw a
Fuck
Babylon
yeah.
Bee article that said the Patriots were surprised to find out that the Super Bowl was yesterday. So today's Monday. So
Yeah.
I don't watch Super Bowl. But back to
I
Kevin
didn't either.
Warsh.
I just hate the Patriots.
Oh yeah, we just hate the Patriots.
Yep.
We go with that. But let's see.
If you're a
Now,
Patriots fan listening, do us all a favor and die.
leave the chat.
Sorry, you can continue with more important
Oh good, oh good. So basically, not Kevin Warsh is just a chair on the Federal Reserve. I don't know if he's actually gonna make a because it's all on votes. You know what I mean? He would, if it's a possibility that he could vote one way, everyone votes another, and his hawkish views on inflation are just you know, doesn't make a dent into their persuasion or which way they vote. But again, lower inflation, sorry, not lower, lower interest rates. What's called they speed up the economy. So if they do cut interest rates, I can only imagine that means more companies, more businesses, more banks are more likely to for that upcoming IPO,
Mm-hmm.
AI IPO coming up supposedly later this year. So if he was
Yep.
going to cut it, I can imagine if I had to bet on Poly Market, I would probably bet like a 75% chance that they're going to cut interest
Ooh.
rates probably a little bit before the IPO for the AI stocks. Not financial advice. Do your own research. There's that. Again, and on top of that, housing. We talked about this a few days ago about the housing market, realtors not selling homes, the price of homes going up. So there's probably more reasons besides just the IPO announcements for to cut interest rates. Will it happen? Again, it's just one guy on the chair. One chair in the whole building. So it could sway either way. But it's interesting to know that even during the 2008 financial crisis, 9, and the 2010 crashes, this guy's been a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are,
Mm-hmm.
25% chance of a recession,
Yep.
according to gamblers.
According to yeah, gamblers. According to
Gamblers.
gambling addicts, we're all in for it, boys. Let's hope they're
but
not due.
but if I had to assume there was insider knowledge, I would assume they would cut interest rates. Who cares about people buying homes? More companies need more money to buy the stocks of SpaceX and OpenAI and such. Any follow up?
Um, I don't know. I tend to reserve my opinion on like Fed chairs until they've like had some time in office. And frankly,
Mm-hmm.
the deal, the deal here is like the last guy didn't do such a bad job. I think he did fine. He did most of like the science back stuff. I don't think this guy's gonna be that much different. And honestly, I maybe would be a little bit concerned that he is. I think the Fed makes like a pretty solid, from like a political perspective. I think the Fed makes a pretty solid like rock in American politics. That like it's good that like you don't have presidencies coming in and like appointing whatever sycophant um, to well, I want to run the economy super hot so it looks good and I can tank it when the next guy comes in so they think they don't want to look like me again. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's probably good to have like a pretty boring, and this is true of like most stuff with banking. You want banks to be boring. It's better for everyone, and you want the guy in charge to be the most boring like guy you can find.
Yeah, for
Like
stability
so,
reasons.
I mean, if he turns out just like the last guy, I'm perfectly content with that.
Yeah, me too.
But we'll give him some time.
Yeah, I gotcha. I gotcha. All right then. Well, so for the next article, we have the one you presented to me.